Good evening, Cheeseheads, and welcome to the Cheese Room podcast, where we discuss all things Spurs and not a lot about cheese. I am John, your host for the evening. For those wondering, Caller has been fanboying Max Verstappen at Silverstone today at the Formula One Grand Prix qualifying, so will not be here. HG has travelled across the border to go and watch England under-19s play in the Euro final. It was 1-1 in the last minute, last I checked. If anyone could give us an update in the comments, that would be great. Tonight, we'll be discussing not only our fourth signing, but also randomly fifth and sixth signings you may have passed you by today, and a very likely seventh. And joining me to discuss this, I not only have not three guests, but four illustrious guests. First of all, he's not only our Aussie tactician, but he's the man behind some of the brilliant graphics that we now have in the cheese room. Although I will add, there's some really poor ones I've put in tonight as well. It's not good evening, good morning, JP. It's just gone 6 a.m, I believe. How are you doing?
Morning, John. Morning, Cheeseheads. I'm doing well. I think for the second time in a row that I've been on the show, I've woken up to a new signing. So, Alistair Gold, eat your heart out. You can go on holidays. Just get me back on the cheese room.
Very nice. On Monday night, we had his live plane tracking updates as he travelled back from another holiday. Joining us is my favourite accountant. It's Mr. Steve Diver. How are you, sir?
Good evening. It wasn't a holiday; it was a wedding visit. That is what I'm telling work. I'm all over the show, to be honest. Portugal last week, Malta next week, and Cambridge tonight, London tomorrow night, Guns N' Roses. We've got 50-hour work week this week. I don't really know where I'm at, but we're signing players as well. So it must be in some weird alternate universe.
Who knows where we are?
I'm mostly happy.
Okay, happy days. I personally thought last Friday's show was so good that I invited both of these guests back. First of all, it's our Wednesday night regular, Gibbo. How are you, Gibbo? You got a beverage with you this evening?
Just a bit of H2O, mate. Nothing too strong. Yeah. Thanks for having me back on. Lovely to meet JP and Steve for the first time after messaging them on our WhatsApp group. Great to be back on with Jack. I've been watching his videos so I can get up to date on all the stats on players. So, for an old dinosaur like me, it helps me tell how good these players are, and I can sort of put it out there so I don't look stupid.
And joining us,
looking forward to getting into it.
Oh, and joining us from Brooklyn is the flat cap himself, although he's not wearing his flat cap.
Yeah,
is Irish Hotspur's psychic. It's Jack. How are you, Jack?
Doing pretty well. Thanks for having me back. I basically was expecting I'd put in an Emerson debut and you guys be kind enough, to accept that Emerson debut, invite me back on. And it looks like you've done just that. So I appreciate it very much. Good to be back.
Let's face it, Emerson's debut was terrible at Palace, wasn't it? But so you were way above that. It was a low bar, but
I was shooting for 6 out of 10. So I was shooting for 6 out of 10.
Oh, you're well above that. Don't worry about that. Obviously, a bit of housekeeping, as Becky would say. Please, can you like this this broadcast and subscribe to the channel so you can comment as well. We will, JP, if he is awake enough, will be putting your comments up throughout the show. Obviously, if you want to be guaranteed your comment to go up, as long as it's not, naughty, then put a super chat in. Right, shall we get on with the business?
You said naughty.
Naughty
way.
Oh, sorry, mate. You broke up a bit. I lost you. You're always saying naughty words.
That's normally called, to be fair.
I'll tell you what, also in the comments, obviously we're multi-continental here. There's no way you are. Obviously, Steve and I are, and Matt are in the UK, so not that exciting, but we've got someone in Australia, someone in America. Let us know where you are tonight and where you're watching from. So, transfer business so far. And today, Tottenham Hotspur put this up on their Twitter feed. Happy days. It's been rumoured for a few days. For the small sum of £60 million, we have signed a striker. But more importantly than that, if you read this tweet, 25% of Christian Romero's bookings last year were for fouls from Richarlison. So that's a great move, isn't it? Straight away.
Don't have to worry
right down.
Probably a bit disappointed, to be fair. Romero, he's probably a bit disappointed. He probably enjoyed some of those yellow cards.
So, JP, what are your thoughts on Richarlison?
We've talked about Richarlison for weeks now, and kind of what we thought of him as a player. I'd like to just think now about what we're going to get from him, and that's a really hard-working player who can play up front and take minutes off Harry Kane, which is something we've been trying to do since the illustrious days of Soldado. So, I'm thrilled that we've gone out and, it's a lot of money, 50 million rising to 60. But what have we spent on players who've not cut the mustard when we've tried to do it cheaper? We've more than passed that. So I'm glad that we've just bitten the bullet and gone, here's the player we want, pay the money the club wants, and let's get it done. And ultimately, I think it's money well spent if it means that we keep Harry Kane on the pitch longer because he's not injured.
Have we signed a better striker than Lenglet down the road? Brazilian striker, I should add.
I think we have, yeah.
I mean, he doesn't even want to play striker, so we've signed one player that wants to play striker, and one of them that's too scared to play striker. I think, what is it? Jesus, when asked, I believe, by the Brazilian national coach, what position do you want to play? He couldn't even muster up the courage to even ask what position he even wanted to play. He had to be forced out of him, I think, what it was.
And then he said out wide, didn't he?
Was sheepishly said right wing or something like that. And so the guy doesn't even want to play striker. The other kind of, I don't want to jump the gun here, but the other reason that you could probably immediately say that this guy, Richarlison, is kind of incomparable to Jesus is the fact that most, I think, Brazilians rate Richarlison much higher than Jesus. And if I would imagine, they probably know their players quite well, especially since that's probably the most historic national team, I would imagine, with some of the highest pressure as well. So any of the players that they think are their starters were certainly probably pretty good, I would imagine.
I did say I've got a Brazilian mate at work who I was asking the other day. I said, what do you make of Richarlison? And he just went, yeah, real good. And I said, if you could pick where he plays, do you play him up front or do you play him out wide? And he said, no, you play him up front. And then maybe that's just because that's where he plays in the national team. And so that's where he sees more of him. But he was adamant. He said, no, up front, that's where you want Richarlison. So I think we've done really well because we've clearly got a player who's going to get minutes, so that the whole conversation around Harry Kane backup, that's not a thing. But you've got someone who wants to play up front. So I think it's a great signing.
I'm just going to respond to this saying, no, we can't, Seb, because you're not on the show. So,
I'm on board with it now. I would like since they sort of first mentioned it, I was a bit like, I can't stick the bloke. I don't know if I want him. We can get better. But as it's drawn near and you sort of take that out of it, I'm on board with it now. It's about time we had a decent an alternative striker to Kane or somebody that can play with him, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's been too long. We've had Vinicius and didn't even have anybody last season, did we? I know. Was Vinicius last season?
Yeah, and Vinicius.
Well, we did have him.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's about time we had someone decent, isn't it? There was times where we used to have 4 decent forwards in our squad, and we weren't even as good as we are now. So, it's about time it's happened. But he can play. Obviously, I know he wants to play centre forward, which is good. But he can, if he needs to fill those wide positions, he can. He can also play up front with Kane, couldn't he? If we switch 2 or 2, it doesn't have to be Son; it can be him. And I think he's up for it. I don't think he's the sort of bloke who's going to come in and go, you know what, I'm behind Kane, so that's my role. That's what I think. He's going to, want to force his way into the team. I don't think he's going to be happy to sit on the bench. And I think when he comes in, he'll put a shift in. And from what I've seen and read, that is one of his biggest attributes, that he puts a shift in. He'll put a shift in and he'll defend from the front. And it is what it is. And I think he wants to be up front for Brazil in the World Cup, doesn't he? He's got a point to prove as well. So it's all good.
And he has that spot right now. It's just his to lose, essentially, that spot. Another thing, just quickly to answer the Jesus versus Richarlison thing. When you think about it, Jesus comes from the team that has the most chances created in Europe, probably one of the best managers when it comes to creating chances and, kind of tacticians and whatnot in Europe. He basically has probably the best passers of the ball, the best creators around, in Europe to choose from. So Jesus should have, the goals that he has, are pretty much built from a plethora of chances that he does, get afforded. Whereas when you do look at Richarlison, it's like a barren wasteland of chances, given to him, and he has to take them when they are given to him. The difference between Kevin De Bruyne, delivering you a ball, and Alex Iwobi, I think, is just the main difference. It's actually quite sad what Richarlison, I think, has actually had to go through the majority of his career. He's basically been an exceptional player that is a starter in the Brazilian national team, playing for Watford and playing for Everton, and, you know, kind of just sucking it up and not really complaining too much. And when people kind of talk about even his attitude, which I'm sure we'll get onto later, you kind of really have to put doubt on the attitude thing, because I think if he did have an attitude, he would have been complaining about Watford and Everton a whole lot more than he did.
Yeah. Steve, Richo, our resident Everton fan, is in the chat. What do you want to say about his comment there?
I mean, that's what we read. So I'm on Reddit a lot, and I look in the Everton Reddit thread and group. And that's what everybody's saying. You know, they're going to miss him. You know, I hope, you know, Rich, I hope you do reinvest money well. Like, obviously you've got some financial worries, but I hope you do manage to get some good players in, because obviously, you know, you're one of the big clubs in the league who's suffering a bit at the moment. But you know, all the Everton fans are going to miss him, and they're saying it. I am all over the show with this signing. Like, I'm a bit Marmite. I love him and I hate him. Like, it's been ingrained for us all to hate Richarlison. You know, he's a wind-up merchant on the pitch. You know, nobody likes playing against him, because he will dive, he will wind you up. Yeah, he is a elite version of Lamella, isn't he? In terms of the shithousery he does, which is why Romero goes in so hard on him. And by the way, Spurs social media, if you're listening to this, if you don't do the official release video, a Hotspur way, of Richarlison walking onto the pitch and Romero double footing him and taking him out, then you failed. You have absolutely failed. That has to happen. Like, he's a player we need. You know, he cares. Like, I don't want to say it because Seb will kick me in the balls next time he sees me, but he's the type of player Conte would want. Like, he cares on the pitch. He works hard. He is a good player. Is he world class? No. But is he good enough to play for us? Yes. And he's flexible. You know, we're going to play, what is it, at least 46 games next year, potentially just over 60. And if we're where we want to be, we need to be playing high in the 50s, right? We can't rely on Son. We can't rely on Kulusevski for every game.
Right.
Like, we've got a £50 million player on the bench. He's played in Premier League. And, yeah, Jack, I know you're all up in your stats, mate. Yeah, he's, 15 goals and assists. There's only 20 players in the Premier League last year with more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even it out, that's one per team. And we've got one on our bench. So, and we've got
two. And he played for a pile of shit.
Yeah, that's the stats that I was actually breaking down, was more or less just confirming, you know, the dross players that he has around him. That was the whole stat breakdown I was giving, is Richarlison is actually impressive for what he has been able to put away, considering the players that he has around him and the managers he's played for. Rafa Benitez does not sound fun to play for. To follow it up with Frank Lampard afterwards, I mean, again, poor guy. I think he probably deserved whatever 100K a week he was being paid. I don't think that sounds very fun for anybody, especially, I think it was something like he gets like 15 touches a game, like something like that, where like Jesus gets like close to 40. You know, when you look at that sort of way as well, he's got to make do with what he gets.
Jesus sat on the bench for a team with no strikers. If you're the striker in your squad,
there you go.
Get on the bench. That's not saying great things. Saying that, I wouldn't mind Jesus at Spurs. You know, I think he is a good player, and I think if he gets a better opportunity, I think he'll do well. And I think he'll do well for Arsenal, unfortunately. Not as well as I think he's going to do. He's going to score, 30 goals a season for them?
I think the difference between Jesus and Richarlison is the character, isn't it, with Conte? What I know, we don't really know, but it's what you perceive, isn't it? And Richarlison seems more like a character that Conte would like.
Oh, sure.
He's got more. Looks like he's got a little bit more fight about him. He's a little bit more spiky. You know, he'll get stuck in and he'll put it in. And I think it'll be interesting to see how Richarlison acts, because I think Everton probably their best player, Watford definitely their best player, and he's coming here and he's at the moment he's probably like fourth choice out the four of our forwards. So it'll be interesting to see how he deals with that.
I'm genuinely interested as well. Like, Harry Kane plays every minute of the game because he's Harry Kane, but also because we've only got one striker. And I think when you think back to like when we had Llorente up front, like Llorente, the whole point of him was knock it in long, get him to chest it down. Harry can do that as well. So you're going like, it's really just if I need to bring Harry off or I'm really struggling in the 90th minute, we'll put Llorente on. Richarlison gives you something completely different. He allows you to play a really mobile front three, which as good as Harry's been dropping in and moving out wide and playing balls in, it gives you much more running in behind. If you think of him, I mean, this scenario, you've got Son, Richarlison, and let's say Mora as your front three. There's not many quicker and more dynamic front threes in the league. Like that's kind of what Liverpool play kind of thing. So he gives us a different element to our play where you go, actually, I'm going to take Harry off in the 70th minute, not because Harry's done, but because this isn't working. We need something else. And he's a genuine something else.
I mean, it's unreal, isn't it? Like when like I'm kind of speechless. Like when I sit and look at the bench normally, and it comes to 70th minute and we're either drawing or losing 1-0, they bring on Winks. Which I know
at one stage he had the Craig twins, I think, on the bench, to look at. Actually,
one's left. He had one's left, apparently.
I think there's a quote from Ali Gold even saying like Antonio Conte in certain games never even bothered to like look behind him, to just see what he had available. He just knew like the starting 11 was his best chance of winning the game. In fact, if he made a substitution, he probably had less of a chance of winning the game. I feel bad for him, honestly. Again, certain people in football you do have to feel bad for sometimes with what they have to work with. And it looks like Antonio Conte is getting what he wants, and Richarlison's getting what he wants, where he can finally play alongside good players and actually play for a good manager for once. And I'm actually interested to see how he takes advantage of that, to be fair, because he's never really had a good manager before. He's never really had good players to play alongside.
There we go.
He would have scored 2-1 in extra time.
Is this the one Divine is in?
Yeah.
Under 19.
Yeah, Scarlett. I think Divine and Scarlett have been taken off, I think, when I looked before. Chukwuemeka, the guy from Villa, he's looked really good.
Good player. He's looked a decent player, he does.
He was at Cheltenham, wasn't he?
No, that was Cheltenham had. Do you know Jacob Ramsey, who plays for Villa?
Ramsey. Yeah.
They had Aaron. They had his brother.
Northampton, that's where they were, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the thing with Kane is, but the other thing with Kane is sometimes, and maybe Son, but not as much. Kane does want to play every game, and he will play lots of games. But sometimes I think you got to sort of save him from himself. There's games where he looked absolutely knackered for us last season, looked dead on his feet, and I think Conte is a strong enough character to go, no, you're starting on the bench today, or after 70 minutes, you're coming off. I need you. We need you fully fit. And that's never happened really, has it? And that's what we've got to have. And there are games where Son fades out the game, even though he scored an assist in lots of games last year. He does have little periods where he fades out. So we can bring him off. And it's not like, you're crap, so we're bringing you off. It's just like, we need everybody pulling in the same way. We need to keep you fit. We need to, keep you sharp and everything. And it'll be perfect for that.
I think Højbjerg is guilty of the same thing. Højbjerg will never lift his hand and say, boss, I'm tired. And it kind of hurts. It's hurt us in the past, and it's hurt us with Kane. And it's actually, you're spot on. Actually, I think there are a few players that have been guilty of that in the past.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. Like, we're talking about a fourth rotation option who's probably going to play 25, 30 games a year. Like, if we play all the games we want to play in, I'm excited.
If you look at the teams below us, Arsenal, he'd probably get in there, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Man United, he'd probably get in at Man United. West Ham, he'd get in at West Ham. All the teams below us, he'd get in. Yet he comes to us and he's fourth choice at the minute. That's got to be positive for us, hasn't it?
Chelsea wanted him as well.
Yeah.
Chelsea could have found a spot in Chelsea, because I think that with Lukaku leaving, that striker spot was up for grabs. Tuchel probably wanted a guy, like you were saying, JP, a bit more mobile, who was also a bit more versatile. So it even made sense why Chelsea were going after him, because that's kind of the same striker we're going after. Versatile, a bit more mobile, play across the front line. So he was even wanted by Chelsea as well, which is, kind of.
And hopefully it never comes to this, but you could put Kulusevski out if you're struggling in a game, need to break them down. Kulusevski, Son, Richarlison, and drop Kane a little bit deeper. I'm not saying you wouldn't set it up like that, but if you were going for a game, a team was just sitting back, you could do that, couldn't you? Drop Kane into sort of like an attacking midfielder role, and get all four of them on the pitch.
Right. I mean, think back to like the Brighton game where, like, for me, that was the most frustrating game last season because it was so clear the system wasn't working and there was nothing we could do about it.
No.
Now look at that game. You go, all right, let's do that. Let's keep Kane on the pitch, but let's bring Richarlison on as well. There's another dynamic. Let's bring Yves Bissouma on into midfield and stack that a bit more.
Yeah.
We can bring Perisic on if he's not. Like, there's so many more options that we're looking at now to go, we've got genuine ways of bringing people on, changing our system, bringing a new dynamic everywhere across the pitch, except for defence at the moment, to change it up.
It's good.
I think my one worry, and I was going to come to this a bit later, but what we still need is I know we've decided not to go for Eriksen for whatever reason. I still think we need that player that can unlock a door. Because Bissouma's a Kante for me, isn't he? He can do a little bit, but he's more a win the ball, give it to the good players. That's what I think he is. I think he's an upgrade on Højbjerg. We've got Bentancur, obviously can pass the ball, but we still need that little bit extra, I think. And that's what I'm hoping they can find in the next week or so. It looks like, I know Adrian's commented saying that Barca have agreed a fee for Rafinha, I think he's saying, which would be brilliant if Chelsea miss out on him because he's a class player.
I don't want him to go anyplace else.
He wants to go there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he wants.
Joel's got the question of the day. Does Richarlison score in August? If he does,
hopefully we'll find out.
I mean, Richarlison's quite a Marmite player, I think. And I think when we were first linked with him quite a few weeks ago, a lot of Spurs fans were like, don't want him. And I think gradually, I don't know if it's just they got used to it or whether they've looked at him as a player and realised actually he's better than you think. But the Chelsea game at Goodison Park, he was immense. He did not stop running. And the goal that they got, although it's a bit fluky, was down to his running and his work rate, just closing down the Chelsea centre-backs.
Spot on.
And if you can keep him fit, which was mainly down to not playing 50 games, because he won't be playing that many games, will he? I think we've got a really, really good option. And he can cover for Kane. And hopefully that give Kane a rest. With the World Cup, they're all going to, only Kulusevski's going to get any time off. So they're all going to be worked hard. But as I've seen in the comments, I do think we need another striker forward, not this striker. Bergwijn's going to go. Lucas will get some game time because he's already said he wants to stay for another 2 years and then go back to Brazil, unless we loan him somewhere locally, which, might happen. Right. So do we think can you see him playing on the right, JP, or just on the left and in the centre?
At the moment, I can, yeah, because I think he's... I asked the question around the team, like, would you rather have Lucas on the right or play Richarlison on the right? I look at Richarlison and I go, I want him playing down the centre and off the left because they're the positions where we need the cover and where we've seen him play most. But I also think he absolutely can play down the right. I've got no problem with it. Front, I think if you look at if you had to take one player out of our front three and put Richarlison in, you'd probably be looking at Decky. And I've got no issues with Richarlison giving any cover for Decky as well. His biggest attribute is work rate. And it doesn't matter what side of the pitch you're on to be able to give you that.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for Everton, he's been predominantly either a striker through the middle. He's played 2/3 of his games there. Or he has been warmer left. Yeah, I agree with JP. He can play all over, and I think that's going to be his biggest strength. And clearly, if I can say it, our weakest of our first 11 is Kulusevski. He's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant since he's come. But Son, world class, Kane, world class, Kulusevski, brilliant kid. Not yet world class. I think he will be. So yeah, I think that is naturally where he's going to present more competition. But Yeah, it's good. He can come on anywhere, or start anywhere. Quite frankly, yeah, we've got so many games coming up. We've all seen not the transfer window, the schedule. Like some months we're hectic, we're crazy hectic. It's games every few days, so we're gonna need people like Richarlison to come on or to start in different positions. I think
Jack,
Mark.
can I? Oh, go on.
Mark made a very good comment a fair while back. Sorry, Mark's up a bit now, but we need to get out of the mentality that we don't need a big squad. We've seen quite a few Spurs fans on Twitter and other social media say, "Why we're spending 50 million and somebody's going to sit on the bench?" Well, he may sit on the bench for some games, but he may start others. And if you're serious about winning the league or, quite frankly, anything else, we need that type of caliber player on the bench. Liverpool do, City do.
Yep.
Why shouldn't we look to emulate it? And it's a bit. I think it's an odd comment for a lot of fans to make.
I don't think we're not buying them for the bench per se anymore, are we? We're sort of like buying them as competition for everyone.
Yeah.
It don't look like we're buying players to sit on the bench, and that's what Conte wants. I think it was Alistair Gold the other day who said Conte's trying to change the mentality of like, we're buying him and he's coming in as a backup to Kane or backup to so and so. He's the mentality is meant to be these players are coming in and they're all fighting for their place. Obviously, Kane and Son, and certain players are more or less guaranteed a place. But we got to sort of start thinking these guys are coming in to challenge for first team places. They're not coming in to be backups. Richarlison's not come to Tottenham to be a backup. That's not in his head. He's come to play. He's come to score goals, and he's come to be the main man at Tottenham in his head.
Yeah.
And that's how we've got to think. That's the mentality we've got to start having. You want to be one of the big boys.
I want to see Richarlison in the starting 11, like in our first 11, because that means that he's playing better than one of the 3 class players that we've already got there. That it's not a sentimentality thing anymore. I think we've been wrapped up in that with the Pochier and the players that we love, and we wanted to see Dele do really well, so we were sad when he wasn't playing. The reality is we've got players who are better than them now on the pitch. If Richarlison ends up on the pitch because he's better than what we've already got, means he's playing better than some Kane or Kulusevski. I'm down with that.
100%.
Yeah, and who wouldn't be? It's a squad game at the end of the day. That's all it is.
That's what all the top teams have.
Yeah,
all the top teams have.
I mean, Klopp and Pep continuously rotating their midfield and front threes. It's only really the defence that Klopp doesn't change. Guardiola changes his defence quite a lot, doesn't he? Which is probably why they're a bit more susceptible sometimes at the back. But definitely the front 6 get changed frequently, and I think that's really important. Talking of which, shall we have a quick chat about midfield? Because we've got 4 very good midfielders. No caller asked us last week about pick our team. I think the keeper and the back 5 pretty much pick themselves generally, I'd say, at the moment. So if we're going to play 2 in the middle, I'm going to ask you all, who would be your preferred starting choice if all 4 are fit? JP, we'll start with you.
Basuma, and I'm trying to choose between Skip and Bentancur.
Give her.
I'm going Basuma and Bentancur. I think Skip's brilliant player, young lad. But I think the other 2 I think they're the main 2, and I feel bad for not picking Højbjerg because I think Højbjerg is massively underrated, not overrated. I think he's played lots of minutes for us, and I think towards the end of the season as well, he not more creative because he's not a creative player, isn't it? But his part, he
got rid of the passing stigma. He got rid of
it. He did a little. He started to do a little bit more. He improved as the season went on. The longer he was with Conte, so I feel bad. But there's not a lot in it. There isn't a lot in it at all, and that's brilliant. But I think first game of the season comes if we play 3-4-3. I think it will I think it will be Basuma and Bentancur, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Højbjerg and Bentancur because Conte stay loyal to those two.
Do you know what? I don't care as well. They're all so good.
Because it's all such good options. It really is. Actually, you're actually
like you could say it's Skip and Højbjerg. I don't care.
It's like picking your favorite ice creams or something like that.
You sort of feel bad for I'm sat there going, oh, but I'm shitting on Højbjerg and Skip, and I really like them. They're all going to play, aren't they? They're all going to play at various times. They're all going to get game time.
No.
Sometimes there might be three of them together.
We're in the Champions League final question, that sort of thing. So, what do you reckon, Steve? And can I just interject, Kerry? It's the Euros, not the World Cup. But well done to England under 19s.
Kerry has self-corrected. It depends who we're playing, I think. So, I think if we're playing, if we're playing City away, I can see it being Basuma and Højbjerg.
Yeah, good point.
If we're playing a slightly lower level team, I can see Skip getting a game, and I hope he gets quite a few.
Like Arsenal, Arsenal.
Yeah, if I think we're playing a team where maybe we need a bit more creativity, I can see Bentancur coming in. Because he's not crazy creative, but he's more than probably any of our other central midfielders. So I think it'll just depend who we're playing. But I think Basuma's going to be the one who's more of the fixed feature. And then I think depending on whether we're playing lower league, better league, or whatever. Dave Harris in the chat. We'll just swap around which player goes in. And that's a good position to be in because last year, until Bentancur came in, we didn't even have that. We had no option. We had absolutely no variability. We couldn't switch it up.
Do you think in some of those away games like City, get like City or Liverpool, do you think we could go three in the middle? Just play two up top?
Jack, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, that's the big kind of thing. And it sort of leads, I think we'll talk about later, the creative midfielder, because you probably use that creative midfielder when you play the 3-5-2. But the big question is does Conte use it like 50-50? Is it like 1 week is a 3-4-3, the next week is a 3-5-2? Or is it more like 3/4 of the time it's 3-4-3? Maybe every now and again we kind of rock the 3-5-2. But then that would mean, right, that third midfielder is expecting to play a quarter of the games instead of 3/4 of this game. To answer the previous question, I'm a bit of a Højbjerg stan, kind of like Shan, so I probably have huge bias coming into this one. I'll be honest. I think every Højbjerg fan should at least admit that while they all love Højbjerg, there's clearly better midfielders out there. I think it's just where maybe the Højbjerg fandom comes from, is they feel like he's very disrespected or kind of underappreciated. But when you sort of compare him to maybe Bentancur at the end of the season, I know I have huge Højbjerg goggles on, but I thought he outperformed Bentancur in like the last 5-6 games of the season. And there were certain games even that we had lost or had bad results in that Højbjerg was still the best player. Brentford is a good example. I remember he created like the only chance that game against Brentford. I remember against Brighton as well. He was the only one in that loss. That was probably the only one that could lift his head high with that performance. Man United as well with the Ronaldo performance. I remember actually Højbjerg playing quite well. So if you ask me, he probably isn't a better player than Bentancur, but if you kind of do it on merit, like we're kind of saying probably how this team is going to work, Højbjerg hasn't really dropped form at all. He's actually kind of in flying form at this moment, and he even carried it into those Denmark UEFA Nations League games. He's kind of been sort of playing out of his skin, I would say, probably playing better than most Højbjerg fans would even kind of expect him to be. And so at this moment in time, until he sort of drops that form a bit, I would actually say Højbjerg is the first name on the team sheet. I know that sounds crazy, but I think he kind of is, just because he has kind of the most credit in the bank right now.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say first name, but I agree. I think he's not.
At least with Conte, maybe. With Conte, I see him having the most credit in the bank.
He reminds me a bit of Ben Davies. They work hard. They don't cause a stink. They're good players. They're never going to be world class. they're good, solid, reliable players, and you need those people in your squad. You know, everything we hear about Højbjerg and Ben Davies, they turn up early for training, they leave late for training, they're great in the changing room, they're great with the development squads, they don't kick up fast if they're on the bench and if they're not starting. And they're good professionals, and Højbjerg's a good player, I agree. And I do think he does get a bit of disrespect because he's not going to be the best player in our team.
But that's where I think,
player in our team, I should say, because a lot of what he does, I think, goes unnoticed.
I completely agree with you. I was going to say, where Højbjerg fans like myself, though, have to relax is you have to still admit that there are better players in the team than him. It's just when he is, I think, playing at his highest, at his highest level, he's kind of a hard person to sort of ignore, I think, because when he is playing out of his skin, he's an immense player, but I don't expect him to be playing out of his skin forever. I think he's going to, definitely take a hit in form at some stage.
But also we need players like that, right? It's, we keep saying
Absolutely.
it's, isn't it? Yeah, you have players like that in your squad who are hardworking professionals who you can rely on. Yeah, imagine if you had Højbjerg on the bench, bring him on. When we're one up and struggling, that's a strong bench. That's a good player to have on our bench. And I'll be perfectly happy with that. Imagine Højbjerg, playing against some of the trickier games where we need to be a bit more defensive. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a big supporter of his, even if he's not, the most, praised or kind of, the sexiest player in our team.
Yeah.
You'd like to think, wouldn't you, that he's the sort of guy that if he's not playing, he'll raise his game to try and play. He'll sort, that'd be
great.
Did
that after the Wolves game, because I think he was dropped for that Wolves game.
Yeah,
where Harry Winks
and he
played,
was pissed off,
and then we all know what happened after that in that performance. And I think he was. But this is sort of then connects back to before, where the reason Højbjerg's form dropped though was because he was being overplayed, and that was the reason he was dropping in form. And so I'm actually really interested in Skip, Højbjerg, Bentancur dynamic, because they're all such similar players, and so you do really see them kind of outworking each other when one of them's on the bench, and they're kind of going to be constantly looking over their shoulder, it looks like, because when one's on the bench, they're probably quite, they all seem like guys that want to start, which will be very interesting. Interesting dynamic. Exactly what you want.
Which is why John's point as well is also really crucial. Like I do think we still need someone else that gives you that something different, because as great as it is that we can bring on a Basuma or a Højbjerg or a Skip, if we're in a game where we're playing a team with a low block, I don't know, even bringing on a third option, how well that splits them. Although I'd say again, I think 2 up front gives you more width and the ability to run behind than 3 does. But yeah, someone who can unlock that pass. I think we need that, the Ericsson type, a Tielemans or something like that.
Well, there's 136 people watching and only 57 likes. Come on, guys, please, can you click the like button? Let's get over 100. The algorithm apparently does mean more people will suddenly see us on their home pages of YouTube if we get over 100. So please click it. It doesn't cost you anything. Just got to press that little thumbs up. Shall we move on? We need to open Lingard is not that. Let's leave that West Ham player alone. Shall we have a little quiz, guys? And I want everyone in the chat to join in with this. A little cheeky, because we've signed Richarlison. A little question. Name some players, or as many players as you can, who play for both Everton and Tottenham. And I will start off by saying Pat Jennings, although he was on Everton's books in 1986, didn't play for Everton, so it doesn't count. David Harris, sorry, mate. So I'm going to start with JP still asleep. So Gibbo, can you name me one player? And we'll go around the room.
One for Davo, Pat Van Den Hauw.
Pat Van Den Hauw, Psycho himself. Jack?
I'll take the Stephen Pienaar that I said in the background.
Good work. Steve's just Googling, right? Yeah.
Not yet. I'm trying to. Samways.
Yeah. JP?
Good old Benny.
I'll go with Gylfi.
We don't mention him. Gibbo?
Richard Goff.
Oh, that's a good one, that, mate. Does Jack, have you heard of Richard Goff?
No, I haven't actually. That sounds familiar, though. At least the surname does.
Fantastic. Brilliant.
He was only at Spurs just
Brilliant
over a
player,
year
Jack.
in the 80s. He was probably better than Alderweireld, that level. He was such a good centre back.
And only there for a year.
They sold him for double the money.
We signed him from Dundee because we signed him from Dundee and sold him to Rangers a year after. The story was that he couldn't go. Dundee wouldn't sell him to Rangers, so he came to us. And then after a year, we sold him back to Rangers. I think his wife wanted to move back up there as well.
Yeah, we paid 750 grand, and Rangers asked David Pleat to name his price. So he very flippantly said 1.5 million, double the money, which in those days was astronomical. Bear in mind, this is a year before we paid a record 2 million for Gaza. And they just went, yep, all right, and paid it. So Pleat was like, oh, it's got to go. And Spurs were not in a financially strong position in those days.
I know a story from back then. I heard Ray Clements say it. So David Pleat sells Richard Goff. Ray Clements goes into his office and he's like, "What's going on? This is the best centre half I've played behind since I've been here, and we've sold him." And David Pleat was like, "Well, sometimes you'll learn in football, Ray, that when you get offered double your money for a player, you have to sell them." And that was it. He was gone. But we're not there anymore, are we? So thank God for that. But
now,
really
if Steve hasn't got a name,
I'd let you know.
He's had 2 or 3 minutes to Google there. Steve, you must have another name.
I think I was next, actually, but you. Steve,
oh, sorry, Jack.
Yes, I don't want to steal Steve's though. Maybe Steve should go first because maybe I might steal his.
There's loads in the chat.
I don't know. I was going to say, I was going to say Townsend, another one from my generation. I'm actually surprised I remembered PNR first, and I would say actually his dad, I think Troy Townsend, is on that other podcast, and he's actually a lovely guy.
He has been on the Cheese Room on the audio podcast.
What? Yeah, he sounds like a nice guy. He sounds very funny.
Yeah. Stevie?
And the hottest Spurs, said Delhi. Yeah, I can't believe we all forgot Delhi.
Don't want to say forget. There's probably about 20 players to go through here.
Yeah.
Pretty recent one. One that I'd forgotten, I can't believe nobody has mentioned, is Alex Young.
He's about 1910, isn't he?
I mean, good knowledge. 1911. Definitely.
I was close. See,
you were close.
I'm not that old. I'm not as old as Davo. JP.
I'll go Lineker.
Yeah, good player. Gibbo.
Barnby.
Yeah.
Ooh, good one.
Gaza.
Yeah.
Come on,
Davo. Stevie.
One I'm actually not sure about. Did Simon Davis play for both?
Yeah.
He did. Yeah. I've got 2 goalkeepers on my list.
Bardson.
Espen Barton, yes. And Gibbo, think late 80s. Goalkeeper.
Bobby Mims.
Booby Mims.
Mims.
On his debut, let the ball through his legs.
Awful.
QPR. Yeah, terrible keeper.
Woeful.
And
Nick Barnby. No, I said Barnby, didn't I?
We mentioned Barnby.
Ginola?
I don't remember. I saw Aaron Lennon. I actually don't remember Aaron Lennon playing for Everton, but I feel like he did.
Yeah, that's where he went when we sold him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I find so funny is that's what I recalled. It's just I don't remember any of those days. I remember him more at Burnley, weirdly.
Yeah, he scored against us at Goodison Park in a 1-1 draw.
We haven't said Saha yet either, have we?
Oh, well, Louis Saha, yes. That's on the list.
We got him from there, didn't we?
Yeah. I think when Pina was going kind of back up north.
We got Sahar instead of Tevez, didn't we? And Redknapp.
Yeah, brilliant business.
Yes, Ginola did play for Everton. He left Spurs for Villa and then went to Everton afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't think Bobby Zamora or Lucas Zamora played there either.
No. One of them, and I didn't remember apart from Google, Richard Goff.
Yeah.
I said that.
Oh, did you?
Richard Goff went there late on in his career, didn't he?
Yeah, he was about 40, wasn't
he? Still good then.
Well, tell me where was his debut then, Davo? We lost 2-0, I know that anyway, at QPR. I think we've got everyone there.
Davo was probably there. He seems to be in there every debut of every player we've ever had, despite living about 18,000 miles away from the stadium and never having been back to the UK again.
Is that like Caller was in the delivery suite for all these new players?
Agreed.
Right, where are we at? So we have signed Richarlison, Andrade. We've signed, and actually today, being the 1st July, is officially the day that Perisic and Forster signed for the club as well. And we've obviously signed Bissouma. Let me just find this slide. I've got a couple of things to do on Firstly, I've got to pick this up. Shan sent this to us. Sky put this up. Now, I'm pretty sure Bissouma was not 35 million. Was it not 25 plus 5?
Yeah,
so Reguilon wasn't Reguilon 25 million?
I recall Bissouma's fee being like something around 28 million euros, like plus add-ons, something like I remember it being in the 20s, or like mid 20s or something, plus add-ons.
I appreciate that agents' fees always skew these, but it's just a bit bizarre that they're well off the figures that have been reported elsewhere.
Richarlison's is technically 50 plus add-ons. So, we've originally paid 50 and we're yet to pay the following 10. So it is kind of strange because I feel like maybe you shouldn't include the add-ons sometime. Well, I don't know. Because it's to whatever discretion that person uses.
You only get the add-ons if they hit the targets, don't you? That's not
because sometimes they can be extreme. Like they can be like 20% of the whole fee itself if they do that well, in some cases.
In Tongi's case, like, the add-ons were pretty extreme. Like I think we were only at like 50 million, and then to get all the way up to the 63, like there's a lot.
Around 100 meters.
But also, like, what did Tongi have to do to get that add-on? Surely he's not triggering any of those clauses.
Show up on time. I'm not sure if you'd be able to show up to the many therapists and I don't know what all the things he had that the club had given him. Geez,
he had to not go to McDonald's during the season. He failed
just to I don't know. I feel like I'm not actually upset at all about the Richarlison price, mostly because I feel like strikers these days, for especially top 4 clubs, are going for absurd fees. Darwin Nunez had one good season with Benfica. He goes for 70 million. Dusan Vlahovic, a great player, has a season and a half, of really good football, goes also for 70 million. That Osimhen guy at Napoli is being like valued at like 90 million. Like that's the bare minimum they're taking him for. I think Lautaro is the same thing, is around 100 million, to get him. When you actually really look at things, strikers are the most inflated, I think, position maybe in the market right now. And it's probably because the Benzemas and the Lewandowskis and the Kanes of the world are all sort of becoming a bit older, and we're trying to replace them with kind of the newer and younger ones. And there really don't seem to be that many good ones to choose from that can really play in like a top 4 team when you look at it. So that's probably why they're going for such expensive fees. Is like anything in the world, if there's less of it or if there's not really that many quality ones to pick from, it's just going to be more expensive.
And he's Brazil's number 9 at the minute, isn't he? He is in the last. He played the last few. Yeah, he's their main man. So and obviously Neymar's the main man, but he's their striker, isn't he, at the moment?
It's just when you compare it to like the fact that Darwin Nunez went for 70 million, like I'm pretty happy that, we got Richarlison for that amount, because Darwin Nunez would be playing the same role that, he would be playing, that Richarlison would be playing at the end of the day. He'd be playing, rotational striker, whatever it may be.
I also find it like slightly baffling that we worry about things like how much we paid for the player. And I know that, we could have done better business and we like to get involved, but there's no other, enterprise in the world where we determine how much we like something based on how much the business paid for it. Like, I don't go, I like those new shoes that Nike have built, but geez, 115 million in R&D. Nah, not for me, thanks.
Well, I agree with most things you say, JP, but first of all, it's Nike, not Nike. Let's clear that up very quickly. I agree. Like, and our fan base, and we all do it, so not attacking people, but our fan base is getting frustrated that we haven't signed Spence, and we're not just agreeing to whatever Middlesbrough want for him. and they're also frustrated that we've overpaid Richarlison. Like, what do you want, guys? Like, what do you want? And I think if we step back, let's forget his name's Richarlison. We have signed Brazil's current striker. He's 25. He's Premier League proven. He can play across the front three. Who got only 20 players in the league got more goals and assists than him last season in Premier League, and he was in a respectfully to the Everton fans in here, not a great team. You guys nearly got relegated. I'm happy you didn't, but that's factual. 15 million, ignore the add-ons, doesn't seem so bad. When you compare them to other people. I still think it's a chunk of money, but the world has changed. I mean, like talking about New York, one of the mates was in New York and paid £7 for coffee. And that's, I think, Jack, that's what you're paying on the streets now if you're going to a Starbucks, right?
No, I mean, I've given up on coffee since I've moved here. It's instant coffee every day. Never would dare.
Yeah. But like, it's the way of the world now is you're paying that amount of money for the top players. Like, let's face it, if we're looking at 25 million for Spence, who's a top man. I don't even know what top man is, man. Like if we're paying 25 million,
big starting.
If we're paying 25 million for Spence, and double the price for a proven international who's a striker and played in Premier League.
So you deal with that,
Kerry. Like, I mean, no.
I think we, in fact, have the most financial fair play leniency. I believe we have 400 million that we could technically spend. We have 400 million we could spend before we get in trouble. And I actually do believe we technically have even 400 million, in the coffers available if we really wanted to take it out. So
people are forgetting.
In fact, Spurs, I think, are always intentionally Spurs are always in the best financial position, because we would hate to, especially our boardroom, would hate to be in a position where they could be taken advantage of, I think, financially.
Yeah, 100%. And like, Enoch, Levy, love him, hate him. They run a club financially very well.
Yeah, they'll never be put in
150 million can come in. 100 million has come in. So net, we're still at 7 million plus. So basically, we're 7 million up in terms of cash flow compared to, 4 or 5 weeks ago. So we're ignoring agencies and that.
It'll be interesting to see when that other 50 is drawn, Steve, won't it? See how long it takes. If we buy a couple more players, that'll be interesting. Because then you'll tell how much money they've sort of got available, won't you?
Yeah, and it's an odd one because we've got, we can pre-spend, forward spend the Champions League money. We've obviously got the prize money from last year where we did pretty well in the league. First full season, I think it is the first full season we've had in the stadium, I think.
Yeah.
Which is crazy considering I opened 3 years ago. There's money in the club. So Kerry, ignore those people. We're totally financially fine.
I think by the way, we'll down that extra 50 million, John. It makes sense for Enoch either way. I don't necessarily agree. It gives us a view on how much money is in the club. I think that money is there and available, and it's in the best interest for Enoch because they increase their controlling stake in Tottenham to draw it down at some point.
Okay. We'll also have the money to spend from what we sell players as well, won't we? Because we've always said whatever money comes in, reinvest in the team. So whatever money comes in as well, we'll sort of add on to that, won't it? Be included in that.
We'll start seeing sales once they go on tour. I think the sales will start. It'll be interesting to see if the likes of Birdvine actually go on tour.
Yeah,
because obviously we're expecting to go. I do think we'll start seeing it once we get the ins done, so they can go on tour. That's when they'll concentrate and start the selling. I don't think we're going to get rid of Ndombele until the last week. It'll be a transfer deadline day deal probably for him and maybe Lo Celso. But this is an interesting question. Is this the first time we've had 3 Brazilians? I remember having Aurelio Gomez and that awful left back Gilberto.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I was younger, talking about Brazilians on a Friday night was a whole different affair, but we won't go there.
How many Brazilians did we have when Sandro was in the team? Was it 2 still?
Oh,
Did
Sandro would
Paulinho
have been.
I feel like we only had 1 or 2 though. Then that's what I'm trying to remember. Was it just
Sandro would have been the same time as Gomez, but not Gilberto.
Gomez.
That's what I'm trying to remember. Is Gomez and him? Was there a third?
When did we have? Did we have a defender called Defendi that was Brazilian? At
Rodrigo Defendi, yes, but he never played for us, did he? Or if he did, it was a League Cup game. Yeah, good shout.
And Jinx with Phil Ambrose in the chat as well.
What a great name.
Did Paulinho cross the end of Sandro and
Paulinho, Sandro, and Gomez?
Did that? Gomez might have been on the way out.
I think Gomez went when we signed Hugo, didn't he?
I think he was
Paulinho
still around.
and Sandro
he was still
might have
around
been
when
in
we
the
had
same
Hugo. He was still around.
part, but
I've
I don't
only
know if
grown up with
Gomez
Hugo.
was.
DMF. Yeah, that's a good question, isn't it?
I think it is.
There's
Paulinho, Sandro,
193 of you watching and only 79 likes. Please, guys, can you click the like button? Let's get us over that 100 mark. And then we'll keep going. Oh, of course, Dave Harris, the legend that is Leandro Damião. He's still on the plane.
Where does he play? Where does he play now? Does anybody know?
I could Google it, or you could do it. You've got a computer next to you, for goodness sake.
I mean, I'm sure we've all got a computer next to us, haven't we?
Well, yeah, but I'm YouTubing on mine. You've got 2 or 3 screens, haven't you?
I mean,
I think he wants someone to be more curious. He wants someone to be even more curious about where.
Am I not YouTubing on mine? This is a big
yeah, but you've got like 49 screens, Steve, for all your accounts.
I have 2. I only need 1 for emails, 1 for Excel. I'm an accountant. That's all I need.
He's only 32. He turns 33 later this month. I would have thought he'd be
still got a chance. We've still got a chance.
He's playing for Kawasaki Frontale. I'm going to guess that's a Japanese team.
Japanese. I think they won the league last year.
South of Tokyo.
Good for him.
Are you making it up, JP, or is that genuine knowledge?
No, they did. They finished first.
Yeah, no, they. I have some Australian managers have kind of passed through the J League, and Kevin Muscat's managing the team that they beat to win the league last year.
Have you seen the YouTube clip of Neil Warnock talking about Muscat?
I have not, no.
I saw it on Facebook the other week, and he's Sheffield United are away at, I'm guessing, Wolves, because that's where Muscat played, wasn't he? And apparently Muscat had elbowed the keeper in the face. He literally got, and he's like, "Oh, that Muscat, he gets away with everything, effing and blinding. Do you just stay away from him? Don't let him wind you up and get a red card." And yeah, it was brilliant watching it.
He was an horrible fucker, Muscat.
Muscat came and played for my team in Melbourne here for a number of years and captained it when the league kicked off. And so I've got not a soft spot for Muscat because there's nothing soft about him, but some love for him. Then he's gone on to become quite a good manager as well and plays really attacking, attractive football. But if you want to see Kevin Muscat's last ever action as a professional footballer, look at his tackle on, I forget the poor bloke's name, but against Melbourne Heart. It was absolutely, I mean, he's gone in 2-footed and hit his knee.
Jesus.
I reckon he broke Craig Bellamy's leg with a real nasty tackle. Might be wrong. Yeah. I can't remember. I'm sure he did. He was horrible.
Bellamy wasn't the nicest of chaps. I worked in the nightclub in Cardiff, 20 years ago, because that's where James was born. And I came across Bellamy, and yeah, it wasn't the nicest chap, I have to say. Anyway, I won't get the cheese room taken to court, so I'll move on. And also we've Richarlison's already got fans. Lovely bit of photoshopping there.
Perfect.
Yeah. Right. So, shall we talk centre backs and rumours this evening? Well, at about 6 o'clock, Fabrizio Romano tweeted this: Tottenham have now reached full agreement with Clement Lenglet. On personal terms, he's happy to join Spurs, with Antonio Conte pushing to have him. Tottenham and Barcelona are still in direct contact to resolve the final details of the loan. Here we go soon. So not quite a here we go. I mean, that was 4 hours ago. Maybe we've got somewhere now.
If that's
are we happy with this, JP?
If that's not sitting on the fence from Romano, I don't know what it is.
It is the sham level of sitting on the fence. But yeah, are you happy with Lenglet, JP?
I'm okay with it. Yeah, I think I said a few weeks back, I said if Ben Davies is our first choice left back or left centre back come the start of the season, I'm okay with that. And if Lenglet displaces him, as we've said earlier in this show, great. It means he's performing better than Ben Davies, so no issue there. I think we've decided that we want Vardiol or Bastoni, and that's not going to happen this season, so we're willing to wait for them. So we bring in Lenglet as cover, and if he does great, fantastic, we sign him. And then if one of those two become available at the end of the window, he can play centre-back as well, because I do think we're in the market for two defenders or for two centre-backs. So I think it's good business. Get the deal away that we can get done. It provides us cover. And if one of those top targets we've got becomes available later, or we have to wait a year for them, then we go in for them and we get them.
Okay.
Loan, I think with an option.
It's a loan option to buy. I believe it's around €6 million is supposedly the option to buy. I believe we're selling Cameron Carter-Vickers for more. So essentially, we're getting Lenglet in, Cameron Carter-Vickers out, someone who could never on this earth ever play for actually this club, in a real actual competitive match of any sort. So I think with Lenglet, it's probably a bit underwhelming. At the same time, it's sort of when you drop down to your third, fourth choice option, because it doesn't look like we're getting Gvardiol this summer. Doesn't look like we're getting Bastoni this summer. Do you really want to spend on your third or fourth choice option? Because you're sort of then stuck with that person if it doesn't work out, and we've made that mistake in the past because Spurs usually settle for their third or fourth choice option of anything and it hasn't worked out. So in this case, we're sort of maybe going for the very low risk, high reward, it seems like, sort of situation here, where we knew that Ben Davies had an exceptional season last season, but we know that he just needs another left-sided center back to be able to come in for him or compete with him. What's actually interesting is Lenglet at one stage was a very good center back and a very highly rated center back. There's a reason he was bought from Sevilla for a pretty decent price, if I recall. And he just sort of kind of lost his way, and it kind of came simultaneously with the fall of Barcelona. So you could probably see how, maybe his form dropped at the same time theirs did. I feel like if Conte basically turned Ben Davies into one of the best center backs in the league, after probably being, if I'll be honest, one of the least useful players in our entire squad before Conte came in, because I didn't rate Ben Davies as a fullback. I did rate him as a left-sided center back. It's just we didn't play that sort of system. So it's just, he wasn't then useful to us. So when you really look at before Conte came, Ben Davies was probably on most people's list as the first guy to go, the first person that needed to probably leave the club. Now, all of a sudden, he's turned into probably one of the better center backs, or at least had one of the better seasons of any center backs in the league. You could probably see him then doing the same thing with Lenglet. If he's able to turn Ben Davies, around, I could see him probably turning Lenglet around, to be fair, because that is the one thing with Conte, is that we have seen him sort of, turn players from water into wine, more or less.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Richarlison, though, as well. Like, we're possibly looking at this signing with downward glasses because we're talking about Bastoni and Vardiol and Bremer, and then we've gone Lenglet. But if you pick it out and you go, we've got a full France international. He played 25-30 games, somewhere around that, for Barcelona last year. And we're getting him on a loan for a season and then a €6 million option to buy at the end of that. You go, great business. Like, let's do it. It's just because we've set our sights a little higher to begin with.
And if it goes horribly wrong, then we don't really bear the consequences of it. Like, whereas if we actually bought the player, then we're stuck with the player. And I think that's, the trouble is, I actually rather maybe we had done that with like an Emerson if possible, because essentially Emerson is a glorified loan when you really look at it, because we're buying him for 20 million, potentially selling him for 20 million. So Lenglet is just a smarter way of more or less doing that, where you kind of bring in somebody just to challenge, just to do a job, and maybe he absolutely blows it out of the water. And, all of a sudden we're kind of looking at him as being, the steal of the summer. I feel like it's underwhelming. It's not very sexy signing of any sort, but I do like the fact that we've gone for a very low risk option instead of going for our third, fourth choice option. I'd rather us, make a low risk choice than settle for third or fourth choice.
His stats, though, and you probably know this, Jack, from your video, don't they show like progressing the ball and bringing it out and doing what like Romero does on the right? he's better at doing that on the left than Davis is.
Definitely. I feel like he definitely is a better passer of the ball. Definitely is a better passer of the ball than Davies.
Progressing the ball.
More technically
better
gifted.
In the air.
It's hard to know because he actually wasn't when you looked at it. Ben Davies was, better, I guess, statistically. I don't really think any of our back line's actually good in the air, if you ask me. I don't even know if Romero's even that great, and Eric Dyer, I don't think is that great either. He's lost some headers. Ben Davies, in fact, might be the best of the three when you really think about it, because he's also scored from set pieces this season, where Eric Dyer and Romero didn't. That's actually an interesting thought. We do need to get a center back that can win a header. We need a center back that can win a header.
Romero's goal at Brighton was a beautiful flick off his foot without knowing about it, wasn't it? It was class. Can I just interrupt this stream to bring you a picture that HG has literally just sent? If it loads, a picture of Alfie Devine celebrating.
Nice.
HG just did that in the stadium. So we all, is there any other YouTube channel doing this right now? Bring us almost live pictures. So well done, Devine and Scarlett. There we go.
Happy days. I think Lenglet's a decent. This guy's got something to prove as well, hasn't he? He's had a right shit time over in Brazil, so hopefully he'll come over here and he'll think, I've got a fresh start now. Champions League football. I'm quite lucky to get a move to Spurs, decent club, and hopefully he'll.
He's accepted lower wages as well, or something like that. The other thing I've just noticed is, if the guy likes playing football, which I imagine he does, if he wants to change his whole career around, this is the perfect opportunity to do it. So when you really look at it, he's actually coming in quite hungry to prove people wrong, quite hungry to prove a point. And that's actually the exact thing you want, is you're not paying a cent really for him. And he's coming in to try to change his whole career around, which I think is a perfect scenario for us.
And I don't think he's going to be the only centre half we'll bring in. I think we'll bring another one in as well.
Correct.
I agree. I think we need to. But I think the advantage of Davis is that Lenglet doesn't need to get rushed into the team.
Yeah.
He could learn the Conte system, gives him a bit of time, and then we'll get in. So also, and I literally stumbled across this earlier, I hadn't even seen the thing. We signed 2 youngsters today. We are pleased to confirm the additions of Tyrell Ashcroft and Josh Keeley to our development squad ahead of the start of the season. Now, Keeley, his name has been around for a few weeks. He's a young Irish keeper. I know Paddy, who watches the show, told me he rates him quite highly. Can anyone tell me anything about Ashcroft? Anyone?
He's from Reading, and he's from the youth academy, I believe, of Reading, or the development squad of Reading. And I believe, they produced Elise, if I'm not mistaken. Who's
they did, yeah. They've got a very good academy there.
That's all I can contribute. Good academy.
Grade. He's played 4 championship games last year, which is good for a young lad. And let me get up my little bit of stat information I got on the both of them.
Reading have got a good academy.
Yeah, that's all.
Reading have got a good academy.
Shopping in the right place.
Yeah, versatile defender Tyrell, who turns 18 later this month, arrives from Reading, where he spent the majority of last season playing in the under-23s and made 4 senior appearances in the Championship. Republic of Ireland's youth international Josh, 19, joins from St Patrick's Athletic, where he won the league under. I've lost the thing there anyway. Under 15, under 17, under 19 levels, stepped up to make 2 new senior appearances during his time at the Dublin-based side, where he was coached by Patrick Jennings, son of Jennings. So there's a nice little Spurs link there. So, I mean, this can only be a good thing, surely, that we're bringing in youngsters again, because we seem to have stopped doing this. So hopefully these 2 players can kick on. We signed a lad from Southend, Sayers, last year. He's only 16. Who's captain in the under 17s already, I think, or under 18s. And we've got Atete, who's been at Cheltenham. Matt, you've seen a bit of him, haven't you?
Yeah. I've spoken to my son plays for Cheltenham, and the assistant manager's son plays with him. So I spoke to him about it. He said he's a good lad. He said he was, because he was there as well. I spoke to him about Joe Roden, but when I was talking to him about Tete, he said, yeah, he's a good lad. He didn't really embellish too much, because I suppose he doesn't want to, really get into it. But I think from what I made out, that's sort of his level. Do you know what I mean? He didn't say like this kid's going to be a superstar. He just said he's a good lad. He works hard. He's a decent player. And I think now they're talking about Portsmouth and looking at him, aren't they, to buy him? But when I spoke to Russ before about Joe Rodon, and I asked him what he was like, he said he came to Cheltenham on loan as a young kid, and he was meant to be the next big thing. But they sort of thought when he got there and he got into men's football at that time, he sort of he didn't stand up to it very well. And obviously he went back to Swansea and got a few more games and did really well for himself. So yeah, I mean that's what he told me about Joe Rodon. Obviously, we're looking at Joe Rodon now, possibly moving on. He's not had a lot of games for Tottenham, has he? So, I don't know what his level is really.
I just want to say, well done, Steve, for having your camera off, then coming back and then doing a big yawn. That was the time. Well done.
In a long way.
A couple of things. Actually, I was just going to mention. I don't know if you saw Moose. Oh, no, I'll do it. There you go. Musa Sissoko, 80 caps. Let's not judge him because someone's complaining about
80. You really got 80
Yeah,
caps?
Musa Sissoko has joined Nantes today for £1.8 million, which is a bit frustrating because we obviously didn't get any fee because Watford got relegated. Hopefully, we got some sort of part of the sell-on. But yeah, I think that's the end of him in the English league. His class touch of an elephant and
he was one of Watford's. He became a Watford captain, didn't he? Like over the
he was probably one of their better players, which is why they went down.
Fair point.
There you go. Ken Wiggle, my dad was in Cheltenham's books before the war. Guessing you don't remember that, Gibbo. Oh, he's frozen.
What's that?
Swansea. I'm guessing you don't remember Ken's dad playing before the war for Cheltenham.
No, I can't remember that far back.
No. Right, what should we talk about now? Oh,
well,
so apparently we're signing
made a good point, isn't he, about the set-piece coach? Have we talked about
literally
that?
What I was going to speak about. I was going to read my little spiel. Is that all right with you, Steve?
We joined up.
Yeah. So, set-piece specialist Gianni Vio is being looked at. Apparently, it's pretty much done. How important do you think bringing a set-piece specialist in to train the players is, Jack?
Oh, I am actually looking forward to answering this, mostly because set pieces are pretty much probably taken advantage by every team that loves to get goals against the run of play. Any team that is pretty bad in open play will then take advantage of any sort of, dead ball because that's how they see themselves scoring. When I even saw the West Ham match, I actually even pointed out to my Dave Harris that when every time that the West Ham fans never sung the entire match when the ball was actually in open play. Every single time there was a set piece, you heard a huge roar from the fans, which just suggests how they sort of look at, where their chances come from. I know we're going to be scoring the majority of our goals from open play, but we were so just worthless, it felt like last season, from any sort of set piece. We couldn't have a player that could get it over the free kick wall. We really struggled from anybody trying to win a header from a corner. I felt like Sonny had excellent delivery. It's just that no one could actually win any of the decent balls that he was putting in. And also, like I just said, we had Gio Lo Celso or Harry Kane repeatedly hitting it into players' chests or into players' feet from free kicks as well. I'm actually really looking forward to finally scoring from free kicks or from set pieces or whatever in general, because it's a great way to just kind of get ahead when you're not even playing very well. It's, it's a great way to have a cushion, especially maybe you start off the game kind of poorly in the first 20, 25 minutes, grab a set piece goal completely against the run of play, grabs you that bit of breathing room, also makes the fans, jump into delirium, and then they feel like everything's okay. They don't have to worry anymore. And that's why I kind of like set pieces, is it sort of is kind of that freebie kind of goal in certain stages when you probably don't deserve it. And that's kind of what makes the set piece so powerful, probably, to be fair, is that it doesn't reflect anything having to do with open play. And so if you're not playing very well, definitely take advantage of it.
Okay. Would you like my little bit of research? I found it now.
And West Ham, how many goals did they score from corners? It felt automatic from them, like absolutely automatic for them.
To be fair, I think as much as anything it's about the taker, they've got a left back whose name escapes me, who can whip a brilliant ball.
I think it's more they have those 3 human missiles and
Craig Dawson has always been a danger from set pieces, isn't he?
He's
always.
a human
He's
missile in the air.
So Giovanni Vio, set piece master, 69-year-old former banker, not rhyming slang. Spent much of his time in the Italian lower leagues. he was hired as a technical coach at Catania in 2008 by Walter Zenga. Do you remember him, Gibbo? Zenga?
Yeah. Played in goal,
Italian
Italian 90 for Italy. Yeah.
He did indeed, yeah. There he earned the name as the Little Wizard, as 17 out of the 44 goals they scored were from set pieces. He went on to work for Fiorentina, AC Milan, and then Brentford and Leeds, which I didn't realise, and then moved to the Italian team and helped them win Euro 2020. He has apparently designed 4,830 different routines from corners and free kicks. And a stat I got off the Athletics podcast today, apparently last season, City scored 22 set pieces, Liverpool 19, we scored 9. Which, to be fair, the 9 were, I reckon, since Christmas pretty much, because we did seem to score more, didn't we, later on in the season, and we got better at defending them. Because when Conte first came in, we were atrocious.
I'm less concerned about how many we score as how many we concede from set pieces.
Yeah, we did.
That's been our Achilles heel for probably 3 or 4 seasons now.
Yeah, but then the last 8-9 games, after the United game, we only conceded 3 goals, I think, overall.
Yeah.
So we definitely improved. But yes, we need to be tighter overall of the whole season. JP, what your thought? You happy we're bringing someone in?
Yeah, as I just said, I look at it more from the defensive aspect. We've been really suspect defending set pieces for a long time now. So if this guy's got 4,390 set piece variations,
830.
830.
Almost 5,000. I mean, I'd want to do the extra 170 just to get to 5K.
Yeah, if he can drill, 100 of those scenarios, how to defend them into our players, then we're going to be instantly better. If it saves us conceding 3 goals a season, that's probably 4 dropped points, because that's typically where we tend to lose points, is a 1-0 set piece away, particularly the season after last.
Yeah.
Is he both? Is he attacking and defending, or is he just? He is.
Yes.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
It's just. I think Liverpool have had a throwing coach, haven't they? It's just part of the modern game now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's trying to get the edge wherever you can. It's trying to nowadays they spend so many hours thinking about however way they can get the edge. And so you might as well just hire someone that's a specialist in whatever way you can get the edge on a team, instead of just thinking that one part of the game is not worth paying any particular attention to. There might be a guy that you can pay 30 grand to prove you otherwise.
First thing he'll probably say is, if we have a direct free kick on goal, we'll take Kane off it and put Son on it. Get him as far 30 away. Grand, 30 easy money.
Do you still think, though, maybe we need someone who can actually head the ball, as well? Maybe at least, I could see us probably scoring more, maybe kind of elaborate routines of some sort. Maybe that it makes it easier. You don't need a big, man in there. But it'd be nice to have someone like a Dawson, someone like even a Zuma, or someone who can actually, come in there with a lot of force and actually be a menace here. Because I feel like we have none at this stage.
We've got bigger. We've signed taller players, haven't we? Like Bentancur. Basuma's bigger than Winks. Richarlison himself, big. He's much bigger than Lucas and Bergwijn.
That's true.
Although Lucas has got a hell of a leap on him, hasn't he?
He probably has. He could probably dunk, I imagine.
Defending corners, Kane is awesome.
Always he has to be front post.
Defender.
Well, do you remember at the West Ham game? They had him marking Mikel Antonio, and he just lost him, didn't he? He just needs to stand in that front post and just clear the ball away, because that's where most of the balls go. Apart from at that Brentford game, Steve and I were at, where we were just screaming because 3 in a row went to Ivan Toney at the far post and we just didn't work it out. And of course, Perisic. Excellent in the air, isn't he, as well? Set pieces as well as taking free kicks.
Are we not missing a bigger point here, though?
Alice.
Thank you. I was hoping for the invite. Surely the bigger point is the last however many seasons we've had weaknesses that all of us could see, and the club has done nothing about it. Both on and off the pitch, we're rectifying weaknesses we've got. Our recruitment on the pitch has been terrible. We've got, I can't remember their names, but I'm going to call them Chappie. Chappie 1 from City, from Chelsea, sorry. Chappie 2 from Everton. Chappie 3 from Rangers, was that? looking to get this free kick list in.
Yeah.
So we're building up the backroom staff and the players on the field in positions we need, and I don't really see us having done that before.
That's a good point, actually, because when you think about all those positions we hired people in, I believe Steve Hitchen was formerly like the head of all of those departments, and Paratici just hired, like you said, 4 different people for those departments, and Steve Hitchen was somehow in charge of all of them, in fact, which really scares me to think about, actually. The fact that Paratici saw it necessary to hire 4 separate people for all of those departments, and Hitchen just thought he had it all covered on his own, or didn't think he needed to ask for help or anything. Scary thought to have, and sort of explains what you were just saying.
Although I miss Hitchen, because the funniest thing about Hitchen was sat just behind him. Paratici does something. About half a second later, Hitchen looks up. Every single time. And it was like, mate, you're not Italian. You can't do this on a touchline if you're not Italian. It's just wild.
Poor old Hitchen.
Is Hitchen at Everton yet?
No.
I think they did their due diligence like they did with Winks.
They'll never live down that documentary saying on 8th January.
Going back to France then, maybe.
Talking of which, where are we going to get rid of this man? Where's he going? I reused the old picture, JP, so it's got the Everton badge behind it, but apparently they don't want him anymore. They realise he's not that good, maybe?
I actually think that Winks to Everton was always baffling, because I don't know if where he plays in their midfield.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Harry Winks can be a really good player in a 3 where his role is just to keep the tempo running. And so if you've got like a really lights out defensive midfielder and a strong kind of progressive passer in the team, then Harry Winks plays a really important high energy role in that 3. Everton don't have really either of those things. They have a lot of like box to box, kind of like what we've got now. So I didn't see that. I think he's much better suited to a Brighton or a Southampton, to be fair. And hopefully, I think for him, like hopefully he does go to a Brighton. Because I think that'd be the best thing for his career.
Interesting. I'm not saying you go to Leeds. So I just saw Fulham and Norwich as a suggestion. I know he was linked with
good shouts.
Fulham earlier, and I can't see him going to Norwich, to be honest. But yeah, Fulham is a possibility, I guess. Anyone got any other thoughts?
I have more of the concern that it's going to be harder for us to sell Winks than we think. Mostly because I think Spurs fans, as well as Spurs, seem to have a much higher evaluation of Winks than I think the general world of football sort of does. We're thinking of selling Winks.
No one said Winks is a good player, John.
I don't know. I don't want to assume that. I'm glad. Maybe I can be a bit harsher, which is actually nice. I was trying to be nice. I was trying to be nice this whole time to Winks or people that do like Winks. Because
hold on. He is not as bad as Caller and a lot of people make him out to be.
I think I agree with Caller. I think so. That's where I'm coming from.
No, he's not terrible. Come on, he's not.
He's just not to our level at the moment.
Yeah, he's not good enough to play for us. But I can see him playing for either top level championship or lower level Premiership team.
Yeah,
and being a okay player for them.
Yeah, I think the point I'm trying to make is the price tag is maybe what I think we're gonna. Seems like we're selling him for 10, 15 million is what we're asking for. I don't really think clubs are going to spend 10, 15.
I think we're asking for 20, 25 to be fair. And I think clubs are probably
even
more
more
looking
absurd.
At him as 10, 15.
I don't even think he's worth 10, 15. I think he's worth more 8, 9 million, to be honest, to a team. Because he's played with one club his whole life. He's played with one club his whole life. He hasn't really played that much football, considering that club he's played for his whole life. So, how good is he really? Is kind of the question. Is he 15, 20 million good?
But also, didn't Cameron Carter-Vickers go for, was it 7, 8 million
6.
or whatever it was?
No, 6 plus 4 add-ons. So 10 potentially.
The add-ons.
I just think that if Jed Spence is worth 15 to 20 million and everyone says, yes, you do that, then Harry Winks is definitely worth 20, 25.
But Jed Spence is on that way, JP.
And they're different
Jed
ages
Spence
as
is
well.
going that way, and Winks is going that way.
I think you factor that in, though. I think that's, and like the homegrown component as well. Like for a Premier League club, I think 20 million on Winks is not a bad deal.
Ultimately, a player is worth what a club will pay for them.
Yeah,
I don't see a club paying that sort of money. We might get a loan with an obligation or something at the end based on appearances, some of that. But we've had a super chat from Davo.
Any more?
By the way, there's been a few questions about the comments about the other David Harris. Both David Harrises will be on this show next Friday. Double Dave Harris, Irish and Davo.
Wow.
So yeah. Anyway,
which one will win out? Which one will win out?
Dave can have his sacred cows, we call her, and that would be quite good with Irish, actually, wouldn't it? Sacred cows. So should he go to the supermarket and buy breakfast pancake toppings or stay in them warm? JP, yes or no?
Do I go to the supermarket and buy breakfast pancake toppings and stay warm? Dave, you're a soft person, so I think you should just stay warm and cozy up. I imagine Dave in bed writing this with like an hoodie on.
No one knows what it is.
And
I do. I've got a 12-year-old who has one. Gibbo?
Get out and get the toppings.
Go for a run, Dave. Jack?
If you're driving, no. If you're walking, yes. I would say go for a walk, and also get some blueberries, chocolate chips, all that jazz. But if you're driving, absolutely not. Not for.
It's about 11 degrees and raining in Sydney. I'll preface that.
Yeah, then I would say driving to get pancake toppings is maybe a bit extreme.
Steve?
I mean, firstly, given it's Davo, whatever inconveniences and annoys him more, I'd rather him do. But who the fuck is pancake? I mean, no offense, Jack. Pancakes breakfast is some stupid shit that Americans do.
I don't eat pancakes. You're welcome to say that.
Fair. JP, do you guys do that in Australia?
Savory pancakes, maybe.
Okay.
None of this. Like, I was in the States. The only time I've been to the States.
Yeah, it's very sweet pancakes. Yeah.
I was in the States, and you'll have to help me on this one because we had breakfast ahead of a wedding, and they're bringing out like cinnamon buns with like eggs on the side and like basically candy.
You mean in the form the cinnamon bun being the candy, you're saying?
No. The cinnamon bun was like the bread. And then there was an egg, but that egg kind of sat to the side. And so you were cutting up the cinnamon bun, dipping it in the egg, and then, I don't know, there's just sweet stuff everywhere. It was disgusting.
Are you like an actual egg, like a fried egg or like a poached egg?
Yeah, like a poached egg, yeah.
Geez, usually we just put icing or something disgusting on top of
icing on top of it. You've got a cinnamon bun and you put icing on top of it.
Yeah, that's actually more standard here. It's actually harder, I would say. It's harder here to find a cinnamon bun without icing, I would say is harder.
That's my 12-year-old
JP, remember, America's the only place in the world where donut is considered a breakfast food.
Yes.
And that blows my mind.
Blows my mind. Like, it just explains so much.
It's actually probably crazy. It'd be crazy in America to eat a donut after 12 p.m. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Haven't you heard of just like toast and an egg?
Do we eat toast and egg?
Boiled egg and soldiers.
We enjoy a good toast and egg. From time to time.
Anyway, let's move
JP,
on.
Cam say your mate's saying pancakes.
Well, yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Cameron, we will get you back on again soon. It rains in Australia. I think it does occasionally, yeah.
Every now and then, yeah.
John is setting Davo, you should join David Lloyd. Do they have David Lloyd in Australia? What sort of, I guess they don't have David Lloyd gyms. It's a gym brand.
Right.
Chain. Yeah.
An expensive gym brand, isn't it?
Sorry, it's what?
An expensive gym brand, isn't it?
Probably. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if anybody can tell. I'm not particularly up on my gym brands. Not my area of specialism.
You're not the sort. I imagine you, Steve, are the sort would join the gym and they just not go and just keep paying the monthly subscription.
To be fair, we've got a gym in the flat, and yeah, I've been in there twice.
Funny New York joke is people pay for gym memberships here just to be able to use the restroom at any given state because there's no public restrooms anywhere in New York. So people have, if you're miles from your apartment, they have a gym membership just in case they need to use the restroom. So, common thing.
It makes sense.
John's
Niall, I feel like I disagree just because we have barbecue, I would say. I would very much disagree just because we have barbecue and we have burgers and chips, all the things that I believe you guys in the UK very much enjoy, as well as I think we also have the second highest concentration of Mexican food next to Mexico as well, which I think is absolutely delicious. Love Mexican food. So might disagree on
He's
that.
revving up the Lexus and the tape player. He said it before he's got a tape player. Anyway, sorry, John Carter, we've gone off track. Shall we come back? Shall we?
I mean, John, we can talk about callers' barbecues if you want.
No.
Well impressed.
Move along. No, not you and your sections of your barbecue. Not now. You could do. We should do a YouTube of just you and your barbecue, Steve. I reckon it'd be very educational. We could do a whole food thing.
Download the sound notes or sound files I sent you. That had to do at least 4 hours, right?
Fair enough. Okay. Right, Jed Spence. What's happening with Jed Spence? Do we think, Steve?
I mean, I don't want to say it because if I whisper it, hopefully Davo won't hear it.
He's getting in the Lexus. He'll miss it.
He's getting in the Lexus, mate. Spit it out.
Okay, fine. I'll say it properly. So the rumor is Paratici has negotiated all the people who have actually signed, and Levy's spent the last month negotiating Spence.
That's right.
Probably feels about right, doesn't it? I think we'll get him. I really do think we'll get him. But it's just a bit painful. But also, at the end of the day, if other clubs aren't really going in for him, and we're haggling over 5-10 million, that's still a chunk of change, right? Like the whole Richarlison thing, people get angry when we overpay. People get angry when we don't overpay. Nobody's ever happy. So I do think we'll get him. It's just a bit painful to get him.
I think we're willing to walk away from it though as well. Like I don't think if we don't sign Jed Spence and we go for our next best option is arguably just as good a quality player. Like I think the homegrown and young component with Jed Spence is what we're trying to get through the door. And I'm happy to see him kind of develop and become a first team player at Spurs, but it's not one that like Jack Grealish, like we missed out on Jack Grealish over a couple of million. And I think at the time we were all like, that feels ridiculous. I don't feel the same about this one. But I do want to see it get done just because it's been dragging on. And if we don't get it done now, it just looks bad.
I think they know.
Purely,
I think they know it's going to happen.
I think that the rumors around like Levy's involvement might be a little bit stretched as well, because I think Levy, the reason for bringing Levy in was because he had a relationship with the agent. So maybe Levy's done more of the like player negotiation side and tying up, the deal with Jed, and Paratici's still probably very much involved with Middlesbrough. But yeah,
bear in mind, Levy's known Steve Gibson, the Middlesbrough chairman, for 20 odd years as well. So they'll have a relationship.
Full part.
But yes, I believe I read it's Harry Redknapp's son, Mark Redknapp, is the agent, and so he knows him through that.
And also, to be clear, that's no in the know for me. It's just purely what we're reading on Twitter is saying that Levy's negotiating that one.
Yeah.
But Kerry makes a good point. Maybe it's a genius play from Paratici. Maybe Spurs don't even want Spence. And Paratici's like, mate, go negotiate for this player, get him really cheap, and then Paratici can go buy the players we actually want.
Do you want to answer this one? Do we think he'll come in as a starter? Jed Spence.
Who did you ask?
Gibbo. Matt, can you hear me? Oh, JP, can you hear me?
You asking me?
Matt's doing the bionic man at the moment. I think that Conte rates Doherty. So I think Doherty at the moment is our first choice right wing back, and there's very much an opportunity for Jed Spence to come and displace him. But I don't think we're signing him with the intention that he comes in straight away as a first team player.
Lad?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Gibbo. Yes, go.
Yeah. I think it's going to happen. That's why it's taken so long. I think it's just like they're just waiting. If they can get Tottenham can get a couple of million knocked off, they'll wait. I think Spence wants to move. I just think they'll just wait and wait till it probably could go on for another couple of weeks. It's just one of them sort of deals that we've had over the years where they're just haggling over a couple of million or little bits and pieces, and I think it'll happen in the end.
Yeah, okay. On this one about homegrown, HG on his Facebook page, Harlow Globetrotter, have a look. He did a good post about homegrown quota and how we're actually very comfortable, because I know we've had someone in the comments the last few shows saying we need to sign homegrown. We're okay, because if you sign players from abroad who are under 21, they don't count at all, either way, homegrown or non-homegrown. So we've got space. So we don't just need to sign homegrown players. We're good on that one.
The homegrown angle as well. It's I don't think about it as homegrown. Think about it, how many like international players you can have, because that's actually the thing you've got to watch at. You can only have 17 players who are not who are international spots, and we're comfortably within that. So we can still sign a couple of internationals. It's just how many people we can fit in the squad. That's all.
It's probably a good way to think about it. Instead of thinking about how many homegrowns you have, think about which players do you think are wasting an international spot that maybe could just be taken by someone else when you maybe look at it, and which one maybe you should go, because those international spots, like you said, are important. So which ones, which replacing one.
Super Tottenham, Spence's big risk to throw him into the first team. Has no Premier League or Champions League experience. He's more one for the future, maybe 1 or 2 years' time. Come good. I mean, Dele hadn't played. He came from League One, didn't he? There are players that can make the jump. It doesn't always work. Kyle Walker, obviously, we loaned him to Villa, didn't we? So he got a bit of time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But he's obviously got the physical attributes to play rolling back. It's whether he could come in and take on Conte's instructions and learn the game the way Conte wants to.
He's a good dribbler. That's the one thing that the rest of the fullbacks don't have. Like, Emerson can't skin past his man. Sessegnon can't skin past his man. Reggie can't skin past his man. Doherty might be the best, but I mean, he's 31 years old and, suffered a whatever huge injury. So that's the one part I do sort of like about Spence, is that he offers something that none of the rest of them have, which is a bit of pace to take it past their guy, a bit of kind of, dribbling and ball carrying, which is nice to see, because Emerson and the rest of those guys really were quite dismal when it came to that, like being able to take past their guy one-on-one and, make something happen. And Spence is sort of a guy that can do that. At least better than the rest of them. Better than the rest that we have.
Can we see us spending 80 million on Hakimi?
No.
I don't see us doing it, but I think it would be worth it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Worth it. We're not going to do it.
I would rather us spend 80 million on Hakimi than go and get, I don't know, Spence and another creative midfielder.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd agree with that.
So Steve Combo's point, apart from having a great first name, good bloke, is actually a very good point. Yeah, I agree with him. Like, Spence, to me, isn't a top 4 right wing back, but
it's true.
I wouldn't be disappointed. I think we all agree with this. I don't think any of us would be disappointed if we bought him, because it's a punt, it's a bet. Sometimes you have to take a punt, and you could become, the next best right wing back in the league. Who knows? Or he could be a bit of a dud. But if you're paying 15, 20 million, we're never going to lose that much on him.
No, you'll probably get most of it back.
Yeah, in the 7 for 10. Like, shit happens at the end of the day. It's nothing. So I'd be happy if we bought him. I'd be unhappy if we bought him and he was our first choice right back. That would worry me. So he just doesn't have the experience. He's too young and too unproven. Very happy to be proven.
We haven't speculated yet this window. Everyone we've bought has been like a guaranteed, like, you know what you're getting out of this player.
That's a good point.
Proven they're ready. You got to speculate to win. And I think Jed Spence is the one. Like, none of us here are like saying, "Oh, I don't want Jed Spence." I want Jed Spence because I want us to speculate on some young upcoming players. I don't want us to speculate on every player we sign but Jed Spence is one I want us to speculate on. I just think because we're speculating, we also have to have someone who's ready to play now to ease him into the team.
He also has that Conte sort of body type that, we've been talking about before. He's tall. I think he's like 6'1". He's a bit, kind of more built than I would say like a Tarek Lamptey is, or, a Max Aarons is, or those other homegrown wingbacks that we could have gone for. Because I think those are the other two, homegrown wingbacks we could have gone for would be like a Tarek Lamptey and a Max Aarons. And the one thing you would say is that Jed Spence has, I think, a full 7 inches of height, I believe, on top of them, and probably a bit more weight, I believe, as well. And we have noticed that Conte might sometimes even prefer a guy that maybe can at least hold his own, physically more than, someone who might not be able to, like a Brian Hill or something like that. He seems to like those physical players who at least can hold their own.
Jack, what do you think of this question by Dave? Under Conte system, you need at least 10 goals from wing-backs, which I think is fair. Would Spence, Sessegnon, Perisic and Doherty give you those 10 goals?
I would say Perisic could probably get you 7. I think of those, like genuinely, because probably the biggest thing about Perisic is that he's still to this day one of the most two-footed players, I think, like in world football. Like the guy, if you watched him play, you wouldn't really even know what foot he is because he uses both like so often, especially even when shooting. He uses both feet so often. So having him on the left, what I actually really like about that is that he can either take it inside or he can, take it down the byline and put a cross in, which is kind of a nightmare, I think, for any fullback coming up against you, because you have to give that respect to him if he is going to have a shot on goal from outside the box. But you also have to respect that he's going to put in a good delivery if you let him down the byline as well. So I think, if I'll be honest, crazy prediction, let's say Perisic plays at least 23 Premier League, or let's just say he plays 30 matches. Let's say he just plays 30 matches, all competitions. He's getting 9 goals, 9 goal involvements. I think he'd get 5 goals and 4 assists or something like that. I think I have that much confidence in him.
There's a good point on Perisic as well, because he is 2-footed. We're all assuming he's going to play on the left because that's where he played for Inter, but he could very well play on the right, and he could be that person that is going to give the quality on the right
anywhere.
And Spence can kind of prove himself, because we've still got, as much as like the early talk was Reggie was going to move on, we've still got Reggie and Sess on the left. Perisic can go left if Doherty's out and we don't think Jed's ready yet. So I think there's the 5 of them kind of give enough cover across the board. I'm kind of assuming that Royale's moved on. Maybe there's enough there if you think about Perisic switching over.
Yeah. Gibbo?
Yeah, I think Sessegnon used to have goals in him, didn't he? Sessegnon scored a lot of goals when he was at Fulham, and he hasn't really done it now lately. But I mean, if they can get him higher up the pitch, he may be able to get 3 or 4. I think like Perisic is going to be the main one out of all those possible wing-back options that gets the goals. Have I froze again?
No, just reading the comment by Andrew Page. Perisic will get 12 goals, so who gets -2?
Wow, I think I can't see Doherty. I mean, how many goals did Doherty get for Wolves when he was there? Did he get a lot of goals for them?
He got 7 their first year in the Premier League.
He still got 3 or 4 last year, didn't he?
2?
Remember, I think he got 2.
Maybe I'm inflating. He got a fair few assists, so he's chipping in.
I mean, it's Emerson the one you got to worry about. Yeah.
Do you know what? I watched Emerson the last few games very closely off the ball. His movement improved massively. When we were going up the left wing, he was finding pockets of space between centre backs. When Kane was dropping deep, he was the one actually getting in the box. And he had a really good chance against Arsenal, which Ramsdale made a good save of. He will score goals this season if he plays, I think.
You'd have thought he'd be the one to get the least possible to get the goals, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I think Sessegnon's about belief. I think he'll score if we can get a belief into him.
We just don't know with Spence, do we? Because like people say, I think he looks a decent player, but he's never played in the Premier League, so we don't know, do we? It's just a leap of faith.
what I really like about Spence, and to be positive, is he's like he can, as you said before, Jack, he can dribble, and we don't have that in the team.
No.
If he can start taking players out by dribbling past, he opens up so much space then for the likes of Decky and Son and Kane to get in the box. And I think you'd find that his output will be much better when you've got those players around him. We don't necessarily need him providing the goal or the assist if he's giving that kind of like pre-assist, if you will, and like laying him on for Decky. And we found that Decky and Doherty broke up a really good relationship. He just has to do something like that. So I think
also really quick as well.
Yeah, I think he can be a really good player and what we need. There's obviously question marks about anyone coming out of the championship because you don't know. But, I want to speculate on him and I want to see what he can do.
He's intimated, hasn't he, that where he goes, though, he wants to play.
Yeah, I think he'll get minutes. I don't see that as an issue. It's just where those minutes come, in what games, and how many of them he gets.
JP, sorry to go in on you. 2 goals, 4 assists, and if you say pre-assist, HG will fly down to Australia and clap you. So he hates the assist.
I just think that we don't need to measure every player on goals and assists, and as much as we need our wingbacks to be creative, if he can do a job that's going to improve the squad, then fantastic, he'll play. And I'll wait and see how he does. I don't want to judge, his goal outputs in another team in the championship in one season as to what he's going to do here. He's got some qualities. Paratici seems to like him. Conte seems to have approved it. Let's get him in and see what he can do. I want to speculate on the kid. At the same time, I'm a Spurs fan. I want us to be the best we can be. So I want us to set ourselves up for success when we are speculating. So let's make sure we've got quality cover. And if he comes in and he lights the world on fire, perfect.
And other teams do it. Like, if we want to be a top team, we've got to buy the top young players.
Yep.
And he is a very, very good young player.
Yep.
Other teams would do it. So why shouldn't we? So I think we're pretty much all in agreement. We're all in agreement as well that this amazing window has happened since I met Paratici in the car park, right?
Do you know what? I almost put that picture on the slideshow tonight, and I took it off. Oh,
it's all come from that, mate. It's all come from that. Had a quick word of him. Yeah. Told him what players to buy, and this is what's happening.
Told him how to get the money in and money out. All nicely done. Yeah,
sweet nonsense in his ears. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what. If we get 200 likes to this show, Spurs will have 300 million to spend next season, won't they?
So we've got 205 people watching and only 115 likes. Come on, guys, please hit that like button. We've got quite a lot to cover still, so we'll race through. Obviously, we've got some extra events going on, although let's have a look. This was the Guns N' Roses setup. So there we go. This was early on this evening. It looks pretty spectacular. I have seen Todd Klein has tweeted during the show with some pictures. So although we heard there were a few issues at the stadium, it sounds like they obviously managed to get through it. But Stevie, you're going there tomorrow with Calder, aren't you? And his dodgy ankle.
I mean, come on, man. He gets injured every week. Every week he breaks a leg, and then 14 hours later he's fine again. So yeah, I mean, I don't take any credence in Calder's injuries. Scores 28 goals a game. And yeah, gets injured every game. So yeah, but I am going with Calder tomorrow. Be good fun. And we're back on the talent club as well.
Are you? And that brings brings me on to this one. They announced that the Barbarians rugby team will be playing New Zealand All Blacks on November the 13th, subject to the Spurs Leeds game on the 12th, staying on the 12th, in which case it might move to the Monday, which would be very odd. I don't really understand, given that's our last game for 5 weeks at the stadium, why they don't just play it a week after. But JP, you happy for that?
Yeah, I mean, more events at the stadium, right? I'm half Kiwi, so it's going to be great to see the All Blacks playing in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
I mean, is there any downside to these events? I know a lot of people seem to get a bit of a cop on about this.
No.
Particularly because you got the break following after. And I don't know how it affects the retractable pitch if it has to come out and then be put back together. There are gaps in the soil. I don't know any of that sort of stuff.
They will play on the grass, I think, not on the American football pitch, because the rugby league game and the rugby union games that have been played on the grass, which surprised me.
We have in this country the football pitches or soccer or whatever you want to call it, for argument's sake, for my Australian friends, often share pitches with the rugby and the AFL, and the pitches tend to be destroyed if the football teams are playing after the rugby teams. But given there's a break afterwards, and the quality of care we get from our groundskeepers, I don't see it being an issue at all.
Okay.
Yeah, only a positive thing, and we the slightly interesting thing for me is the club are putting on they're calling it a blue tie ball rather than a black tie ball, because Spurs is blue. They're putting it on for those of you who've been in that area. There's like a big atrium in the east stand, and it's fully booked until I think September. So every weekend until September, there's a large event going on. And I think the thing we don't quite realise that the club has set up is, it's not just Smack Guns and Roses, not just about Barbarians playing there and the big events, and Lady Gaga's playing there, etc. We've obviously had a couple of other rugby events. There's a load of other smaller events that still bring in a lot of money into the club. So I think, I think it's going to be good for us next season when we've got a full year in.
Have you guys seen this beautiful mural that's been put on in Tottenham? I think it's a brilliant piece of artwork. Unfortunately, it's only going to be there till the end of July, I think Vicky said, which is a real shame. But yeah, if you can get to London, get up and go and see that, because that's amazing. Right. So, Sonny Perkins, this is the name that I saw today on Twitter. Steve Combo's asked, has it been discussed? I saw that West Ham have announced he's left, and I saw everybody saying welcome to Spurs or welcome to Leeds. Does anyone know anything about this guy, apart from the fact apparently he's a Spurs fan?
Literally from Twitter, only from Twitter just now.
What has Twitter shown you, Steve?
What Steve Combo just said. Nothing more than that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Awkward
Tielemans. We seem to be very closely linked with Tielemans again this week, and now it's sort of distancing a bit. Any ideas on him? Do we need him? Is he the right player we need?
He's a good player.
He sort of fits that more progressive passing player. I don't know if I'm Tielemans. I don't know if I want to come to Spurs with the number of options we've already got. I know he's a different sort of option and he'll back himself, but I think he'll come knowing he's only going to play half the games, or if that, or come off the bench when he's needed. So I don't know.
There's that question. People have questioned his attitude, mostly because I think they said down tools this most recent season. With Leicester City, there was a bit of a worry there. I actually was a bit concerned by that, because out of all clubs to really, I feel like if, Richarlison probably had the best excuse to down tools, if you ask me, with the club he plays for and, the type of player that he is and whatnot. Tielemans had Europa League football, had finished 5th, I believe, or 6th, whatever it was, the last season. Leicester City is going in the right direction, regardless of this last season they had. It was kind of weird for him to sort of down tools and for sort of him to complain and, feel like, he needs this move, because he was making it out to seem like Leicester City was a horrible place to play football. And I don't know, if you ask me, it looked pretty enjoyable. I think he had a lot of things going for him. Regular starting time, played the role that he wanted to play, played European football. Genuinely, I was very confused why he made such a big deal of downing tools. If he wants to leave Leicester, I think that's totally fine. But the manner in which he did it was a bit odd, because I don't really see why Leicester City was such a bad and toxic place for him.
I think he's a decent player, but I can't see it happening. It's like it's an extra body going into like two positions, really, because we usually play two in the middle of the park, don't we? We've got four already. I think you bring him in, it's just less minutes for everyone else. I just can't see. I just don't think it'll happen. I can't see that one happening.
I think we need that profile of player, but I just don't see it happening with Tielemans.
No.
I'd see him agreeing to it, and the money we'd have to pay, and I just don't. Yeah, I don't think that'll happen.
Agreed. And the one thing I'd add, which may annoy a few people, he was offered Poch, and we had him signed up, and Poch didn't want him.
That happened a lot, didn't it? There was a lot of players that Poch decided he didn't want when we had deals done. And to be fair to Steve Hitchin, I know we take the mick, he had players like Bruno Fernandes signed up rather than Lo Celso.
Yeah.
And I know Bruno's gone off the ball, but had 2.5 very good seasons and would have improved us quite a lot. But
arguably Poch is still in the role if Bruno is in instead of Lo Celso.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Seb did quite a long. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Chalanoglu, is it? Chalanoglu. Thank you, Jack. Seb did quite a bit on his Transfer Talk show a couple of weeks ago. Now, I'll just take this chance to say Seb isn't doing the show this Sunday. He's going to do it on Monday or Tuesday. He'll let me know when he gets around to it. So just keep an eye out for that, where he just does his short little quick fire thing on our latest news and transfers and how he thinks players can fit into the team. What would this be a good signing, Jack?
Yeah, actually, to be fair, for that creative midfield role, I think it would be a good signing. It's just, the question is, like we said, how do we convince them, to play the minutes that we don't know, that we just don't know what sort of minutes this creative midfielder would get in a team. But he would be that something different. Essentially, I think he has like the greatest free kick or long free kick goal of all time when he was back in his days at Hamburg. If you remember that guy that scored that 60-yarder or whatever it was, that moved like 8 different directions and went into the goal. That was him, if that rings a bell for you. He's known as kind of one of the better free kick takers in the world, next to kind of James Ward-Prowse and whatnot. A really good striker of the ball. I would say, though, my big concern with him is his whole career just been one of those guys that just seems to turn it on when he wants to. I've seen him have absolute stinkers, and then I've seen him look like one of the best players I've seen in weeks, kind of guy. So if that helps you out, which I bet it didn't because that sounded very vague, you're getting good free kicks and you're getting, someone that plays well when they want to, is how I would judge it.
JP, Kerry's asking, have we had our WoW signing yet? I'll come to you in a minute, Gabo.
Yeah. I think there could be one more, but I think that Richarlison and Basuma, like you go through any window where you sign 2 players like that, and don't take the price tag for Basuma into it. Look at the player. I think those 2 are pretty wow in terms of what we've been able to get across the line, and the who else that was interested in them as well.
Okay, Gabo, do you want to go back on?
Yeah, I don't think we're going. I don't think we're going to sign a creative midfielder. I don't think that's how Conte really plays. I think he wants creativity to come out from out wide. So I'm not sure we'll get somebody like the Turkish guy or the Ericsson. I mean, he looks a decent player, but I just don't think we'll be going in for somebody like that.
I've heard someone say that before, and to be fair, you could be right, because like you just said, how much does Conte play that player that you're describing? And that's what we don't.
They're not going to play every week, are they? If he gets a guy like that, I don't think they're going to be like regular starters.
True. Just before we wrap up, should we just go around? What do we still need? So we've signed 4 very good players. I'll start with you, JP. Then I'm going to Gibbo, then Steve, then Jack. Name me positions that you. How many more signings we're going to make? And I'm not talking about youth kids. I'm talking about first team squad players and the positions. So give me a number and then positions. Join in the chat. Give us numbers and positions. JP, go.
Are we counting Lenglet?
He's not signed yet, so count Lenglet. Yeah.
Okay. 4. We'll get 2 more centre backs, a right wing back. And I think we'll get 1 more, either be a midfielder or another right wing back that'll come in.
Give it.
Right, I think we'll get 4. 2 centre backs. I think the biggest player we need to get is a really good right wing back. And then even though I said I don't think Conte plays like with an attacking midfielder, I think we will get another midfielder who maybe do that, but I don't think it'll be a really big sort of name player.
Stevie?
I think 5.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gone big.
I think 5. So I think we'll get, as everybody else said, 2 defenders, 2 centre backs. So Lenglet, nobody really.
Lenglet.
I'm not sure it is Lenglet. Is it really Lenglet?
I think
but anyway, that player. A right wing back. Another. I don't think it'll be Bremer, but another good centre back of some form, whether it's left, right, centre. I think the next priority would be a striker, another forward.
There you go. Hotspur agrees with me. What a wise person. Jack.
But then also, sorry.
Oh, he's still going. Sorry.
So I think that's the 4. I think the 5th would be, and I think this would be. I think Matthew said this. I agree with you, although I don't want to. This is you, but because I want one. But I think the creative midfielder will be bottom of the list because of what Conte wants. So I think we'll get 5, and I think the creative midfielder will be a
opportunistic.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I see Lenglet coming in. I see another center back coming in. It could be a Bremer. It could be like an Ndika. I think one of the ones that we've been linked with, we will go for. I see Jed Spence signing, so that would be 3. I do see. I think with 4, it's either going to come through in the case of, I think, another winger or a creative midfielder is how I would see it. Because what you could think about it, if we don't sign a creative midfielder, I think we should then sign another winger, because I'm not sure if we could get away with just 5 forwards for next season, as Richarlison and Lucas being the only backups for Kane, Kulusevski, and Son. I feel like we would need to get in technically another forward, or maybe have confidence that Brian Hill could do something, but I don't think that really is the case for most people. So I do feel like we need another winger. So that would be my 4th. And then my 5th would actually be perhaps another right wing back. There is a chance I think we might actually sign 2 right wing backs, because I think Emerson looks like he's staying. It's hard to tell if he's staying. Who knows with Reguilón as well. I think Reguilón's headed out the door. Maybe we do actually sign another wing back, like a Joachim Mela or something like that, because it seems like maybe Spurs do have an eye on perhaps like 2 wing backs, at least to my sort of guessing from what I've seen. So I'm going to go with 5.
Yeah, also, John's gone for the expensive option now, hasn't he? John, you should have picked Disney World Orlando. That would have been easier and cheaper for Jack.
Yeah, I mean, pay for my trip to Disneyland Paris if you want. We're going in the end of August. For my money, I think you're right. I think there'll be 2 centre backs. Obviously, it also depends on who we ship out. I do think we need at least 1 right wing back, and either Emerson or Doherty goes. Probably Emerson, because he's marketable in Europe. I really would like to see that lock picker come in. So whether it's someone that can play as a winger or as a number 10. I think Kulusevski could play as a number 10 at times, now that he's getting comfortable in the league. But I definitely would like another attacking player, just with the number of games we've got, just to take the pressure off. Because if we lose Son, yes, Richarlison can play there, but Bergwijn's going, we know that. We'll be very thin on the ground again.
No.
Yeah. So I think we're going to need someone else. There was a question from, Gov. I've seen Gil and Sarr be mentioned a couple of times. What do we think is going to happen to Brian Hill and Sarr, the guy who's coming in from Metz, that we obviously loaned back to Metz? Gibbo, do you think, if we start with Sarr, do you think Sarr's going to be sent out on loan or given a chance to prove? himself.
I think he'll have a look at him. I think he'll probably take him on the tour, but probably go out on loan. Gill will definitely go out on loan, but he'll have a look at Sarr, won't he? But I'm not sure. It's a tough ask for him to come in, really prove himself, and start getting minutes. I should imagine he'll go out on loan, and I should imagine Hill will go out on loan as well.
Steve?
Yeah, look at loan. Like they're not going to go on loan immediately. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they go pre-season and play a couple of games, maybe from a bench, and then go back out on loan again.
I wouldn't be surprised with Sarr if we keep him around for the first half of the season, then loan him out in the second half as well. Because I think at some point he needs to kind of get used to the players he's going to play with. We've done.
I have a feeling. Yeah. I have a feeling either Brian Hill, Sarr, or Troy Parrott might actually prove Conte wrong, or perhaps make an impression on Conte that might get them a spot in the squad, a very auxiliary, proliferary spot. But I have a feeling that Brian Hill has a chance, or Papa Matasar has a chance, or Troy Parrott has a chance to perhaps prove maybe Conte wrong, or prove some doubters wrong. Because preseason, you never know; they might have a lot of minutes, and they might show something that they didn't think they had.
Yeah, indeed. I think Phil makes a really good point. Is this the time for Dane and Alfie Devine to go on loan?
100%. 100%.
Off to Cheltenham, eh? That'd be a good place to go, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to afford their wages.
I think Alfie Devine should probably go to Norwich. The type of football they're going to play. I think he'd fit in really well there. Dane, I don't know.
Not with Dean Smith.
This is true, actually.
Is that too high level for him now, do you think? Do you think maybe League One might be a better bet to start off with?
I've got really high hopes for Alfie. I think he could be.
Absolutely.
I think he could really be something. Maybe League One. I don't know, but I just think that the boy is mustard. I reckon he's got the attitude to cut it in the Championship.
Yeah.
But if he goes to the Championship, he has to play for a team that's going to be pushing for promotion. He can't go to a team that's going to be battling and having to fight each game. He needs, I want to keep his confidence up.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, Drabby, I meant if Son got injured. That was all I was trying to say. Just that scenario. Gov's suggesting send him to Brighton under Potter. I think Brighton got quite a big squad. I think it might be a year too early for him, to be honest. I'm not sure that would happen, but Potter would certainly improve him. And the other one to discuss, Jack, Troy Parrott had a really good, especially second half of the season at MK Dons. Do we think Championship or move him into our squad this year?
I'll just say this again. I actually genuinely think it is Sarr, Hill, or Parrott. I would venture one of them is going to actually make it into the squad, and they're not going to play any game time at all, but they're going to make it into the squad. I have a feeling that one of them is just going to impress Conte in some way or form.
Of those three, it'll be Parrott.
Yep.
I think
most likely Parrott. Most likely.
With the 5 sub rule, even getting 5-10 minutes here is more likely now, isn't it? For the
you're right.
Players.
Absolutely, you're right.
Parrott's another one though. He had a good international when we started playing the internationals at the end of the season. He did all right, didn't he, for Ireland? So looks like he's working hard. It could be him.
Yeah. More chances, more subs, more chances. Alfie Devine hugely impressing Conte. That's good to know. He was certainly impressive for England under 19s. I get that's only under 19 level, but it's still he's been one of the standout players for England. So. Right, well, we've been going for 2 hours and 9 minutes almost. So I think I'm going to call it to a close. JP, hopefully you've woken up now. Is it like 8 o'clock there now?
Yeah, 8:15. I've got to go have some pancake breakfast, I reckon.
Thanks for joining me. Thanks for helping.
No worries at all.
Give up our Wednesday night, Guru. Thanks for joining again.
No problem. I think I had a few technical issues which I didn't have a fucking clue to sort out. So, looking forward to Wednesday.
Wednesday back. And Shan will be back on Wednesday because Becky's busy, along with yourself and James. And Steve Diver, well done for staying awake.
Yeah, I'm flagging. I am absolutely flagging. But yeah, good show. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for that. And Jack, thanks for joining again. Let's say
Thanks for having me.
Your other half, as it were, Irish, is joining us next week.
Yeah, looking forward. Especially he has the pleasure of doing the Sacred Cows, and I imagine he'll have a good performance when it comes to those. I bet he'll be ready.
I'm not sure Caller's excited about the Sacred Cow, but there seems to be a lot of chat about people.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was
okay.
It was very fun. It was very fun. And in fact, I believe it was Paul. Was well prepared for it. So if you come prepared, it can be a good one.
Pretty. So
also, Matt had a good one. What did you have to do? Did you have to defend Levy?
I had to defend it. I had to defend Enoch.
That's right. He put in a good shift. He put in a great shift.
Yeah.
But what I said, it is harder to praise people that if you're slagging someone, you can go and go and go. But when you're trying to praise them, it's hard work.
Make good work of it.
I think we should make Davo be the praisee this time and not the
praise Enoch.
Yes.
Yeah. He won't praise anyone. Make Dave. Yeah. If he wants to do it, he can try that. So yes. On that note, I'm going to say, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on,
you Spurs.